Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show. I am the FPL guru, Alex Rex. All on his Todd today, just doing a quick video previewing episode 18, because it is episode 18, game week 18. That's the up and coming one. We've had to deal with a hell of a lot of issues in terms of COVID cancellations. And the majority of questions that have come in this week. I've had a few that probably will be addressed a little bit further down the line, but the majority have been how to deal with the situation that we're in currently. Quick review of the All in Football podcast mini league. So we had game week 16 and 17 since we last did a podcast. We previewed those beforehand. And congratulations to David Bruyne for being manager of the week in game week 16, and our very own Tom Hughes, manager of the week in game week 17. Somehow Tom managed to get an 80-point week and get his overall rank up to 58,000. I think it was 55,000th in the world that game week specifically. First things first, don't get too downhearted if you've had a really bad game week. I've seen some very experienced fantasy managers be very, very unlucky this week with the cancellations that have really hit them. And then I've also seen some fantasy managers who really know what they're doing, and also some that don't know what they're doing at all, have really good game weeks. And it's just it's a frustrating one because you don't want to rely on luck so much, but unfortunately these things happen, and it happened last year as well. You would just have to sort of take it on the chin and move on. And actually, we're going to look at it from a little bit of a different perspective and a little bit more of an exciting perspective, I think, as well. If you do want to join the All in Football Podcast Mini League, please do. The code is 2P5QC4, 2P5QC4. So you're going to listen to my voice for the next sort of 10, 15 minutes. So we'll see how long this one goes on for anyway. But first things first, how to deal with the situation that we're in. So if we have a quick look at the fixtures, there are only 5 that are scheduled for this weekend. So we've got Villa, Burnley, Leeds, Arsenal, then Wolves, Chelsea, Newcastle, Man City, and then Spurs against Liverpool. Keep up to date with the news. You can, Sky Sports are pretty on it in terms of just sending through generic cancellations, etc., messages about them being called off. But you can take a look at Twitter. Obviously, that's usually a good indicator of when there are positive cases. Keep abreast of these things. But have a look at the press conference summaries as well. PremierFantasyTools.com is one of the sites that I tend to use because I think the summaries of the press conferences are really good and bite size. So that's Premier Fantasy Tools. So they'll do the press conferences today being Friday. And you might get some news about COVID cases, etc. at that point as well. And also, I think Ben Dinnery on Twitter, a guy called Ben Dinnery, he does the injury updates for Fantasy Football Hub. He usually has some good updates and things that are relatively concise as well about who has got COVID. But yeah, keep abreast of these things. Social media is usually a good platform to be able to find out what's going on, so you don't make any errors on that side of things. Make last minute transfers is an obvious one. So the deadline for this week's game week is 1:30 on Saturday. So, waiting until 12 o'clock, 12:30 to make your transfers is an obvious one. I think everybody will know. And the fact that you need nailed on players in teams is even more important than before. One thing that I think I haven't really heard anybody mention so far is the players to select. So when I look at Saturday's fixtures, you're going to know normally. You'd be very unlucky not to know by 1 o'clock on Saturday if Leeds Arsenal is going to be cancelled at 5:30 on a Saturday. And it'd be ridiculous if you didn't know if Villa Burnley was going to be cancelled. So when you are looking at your transfers for this game week, I would probably, if you're erring on the side of caution, especially if you are doing quite well in your mini leagues and you're only putting out 8 players this week, for an example, look at Villa assets, look at Burnley assets, maybe not so much. Look at Leeds assets and look at Arsenal assets. I mean, you've actually got a really good selection of players from these teams. I mean, Aston Villa, Barry Stokes, shout out to you, Barry, as well. You had a fantastic game week as well, though, the week before last, and you've made some really good moves. Jacob Ramsey being one of your players that you brought in. That's what his name is, Jacob Ramsey, isn't it? This is where I get corrected by Tom Scott normally. But Ramsey, who's coming for you, has been a really good move at 4.5 million, a really solid gamble. You can look at the wing backs of cash target, whatever else you want to do there. Buendia's injured now, though, isn't he? Or he came off in the last game. But someone like Aston Villa, Ollie Watkins is the obvious one. He's an obvious person. If you have no striker in place at the moment, look at someone like him. When you look at Burnley again, you need to make sure that you're a little bit more cautious. I think Cornet's still potentially injured, but yeah, someone like Chris Wood is you never know when he's going to do things. And Dwight McNeil will get his good returns of the season at some point, I'm sure. Leeds and Arsenal. Leeds, your options are pretty standard. You know, if you look at someone like Rafinha, potentially, he's obviously a good player. Tyler Roberts has been high up for expected goal involvements, even though I know a lot of the Leeds fans don't really rate him. But in terms of the statistics, he's been right up there, and he did score a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to take a gamble, maybe something like that, I wouldn't advise it though. And then Arsenal, there's quite a lot of options from Arsenal at the moment. You could easily stick to someone like Ben White at 4.4 million. I don't think when I look at Tomiyasu, he's giving you much going forward. And Ben White's cheaper than Gabriel, even though Gabriel offers you more goal threat. Kieran Tierney, if he's getting a run in the side, he is an option short term. He always is an option short term. He's maybe not someone who's longer term, but and then the midfield of Arsenal, I think Bukayo Saka looks incredible at the moment. He goes through phases in a season as well, and hopefully as he matures as a player, he's someone who's an option. Emile Smith-Rowe again, now that he's come back from his injury, came back, scored a fantastic goal in the last game against West Ham. So they're all options. Martinelli at 5.2 million. He's barely owned by anybody. He seems to be getting a run in the side from the left-hand side there of that three behind Lacazette, who also needs to be pointed out. I know he missed his penalty, but he'd scored the previous 8, I think, that he'd taken. He's the nominated club captain at the moment for Arsenal, and we're all short of strikers. So again, there's good options there. And someone I'm going to be most probably getting on this week, because I don't have a playing goalkeeper, is Aaron Ramsdale, because I'm the only player I think in the top 7 in our league. He's so highly owned, and he's kept like 9 clean sheets in 15. As much as I have to swallow this pill, I don't really rate him as a goalkeeper. I think but he has definitely been very, very good these last 15 game weeks. So hands up on that one. He's obviously done a very good job, and I think I need to bite the bullet and stop being so stubborn and bring him in whilst I don't have any playing goalkeepers. So tips, I'll look at transfers for players who are going to be in games that are going to happen the same day as when the deadline is. That's usually a good shout. And also vice captaincy, really important, because I'll see a lot of people this week captain Salah, vice captain Bernardo or Foden, or the other way around. You'll see a lot of people doing these. Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool all play on Sunday. What I would suggest to you is to vice captain someone. I mean, Ollie Watkins is the obvious vice captain for me this week. He'll be my vice captain. He's playing in the first kickoff. He's playing against Burnley. These are all things just to bear in mind, just to help you not get. Because if you get kicked in the nuts with a Liverpool and a Man City cancellation, you've had no one as your captain, and that's like that. Well, it's 2 players. You know, 1 player in 2. What's 2 players in 1, I should say. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, good English, Alex. So vice captain somebody, I think, on that Saturday. That's what I would recommend to do. One of the people asked me about free hits. When is it worthwhile free hitting? If you're going to free hit in this period, this week is probably the best one to do it if you've got like 4 or 5 players playing, because hopefully when you get your team back for the next game week, there is 7 days between this game week and the next game week. You have your midweek fixtures as well with your Carabao Cup that I'll touch on in a second. So if you're going to free hit, this is probably the best one. If not, then the last one in January, when there's the next 3 game weeks really close together, Boxing Day, the 28th, 29th one, and then the first week in January. Doing the first week in January again, because you get that team back, remember. Don't be tempted to free hit next week, as in like game week 19 or game week 20, because you just get your team back for 20 or 21. And you'll be free hitting to get those players out that you don't want in the first place, and then you'll just get them back straight away. So if you are going to free hit maybe game week 18 or game week 21, it's understandable if you're putting 4 or 5 players out. And that then takes me really swiftly on to when is it the right time to take hits and how many hits should you take? So if I'm chasing in my mini league right now, like, because I'm in a relatively solid position overall rank, about 70 odd K in the world, I'm not going to take any undue risks that I don't need to take. But and I mean, I might take a -4 this week, just because I think I really want to improve my team. Yeah, if Bernardo is injured, get him out, get Foden in, get Ramsdale in, and then I thought I have 2 free transfers. I might look at improving another area of my team, to also make sure I've got players in there that play. But if you're chasing in your mini league, why not go for a -4 or even a -8 this week if you have only got like 7 or 8 players playing? There's no problem with this. You look at certain players that are out there at the moment that might be slightly lowly owned. Someone like, for example, if you haven't got Watkins, get a Watkins. You're looking at Arsenal. I mean, everyone's got Smith Rowe and Ramsdale. Why not maybe go for someone like Saka or Lacazette this week if you're chasing in your mini league? Why not do it? Wolves against Chelsea. Wolves have been relatively solid defensively. It has to be said and has to be given. But Mason Mount scored 4 in 4. When we look at the form of players, someone like him's a really good shout. And even as far as Man City don't play in the Carabao Cup midweek, they're playing Newcastle. Kevin De Bruyne looked unbelievable against Leeds. I know they all did because they beat him 7-0. But someone like Kevin De Bruyne seems like a really solid move as well to just a gamble, but a solid player. And that's one of the reasons as well why I'm potentially looking at moving away from Bernardo, because if De Bruyne is back in fit, then Pep tends to play him. And when Pep tends to play De Bruyne, then Gundogan and Bernardo tend to move back. I know Gundogan got 2 assists, but I think that Leeds game was very open at that point. So anyway, don't be afraid to maybe take a couple more of those gambles and try and pick out that next big player. Look at the fixtures. Obviously not so much in case they get cancelled, but eye test. Look at your stats. Look at your expected goal involvements. Look at your expected points. Maybe even look at the heat maps of where they're playing. And someone like John McGinn at Villa, his points have been really good the last few weeks. Obviously, Ramsey potentially a good shout. Look at Man United, not this week, obviously, but moving forward, Rashford or Sancho, maybe even Greenwood. Lanzini at West Ham, he seems to be getting a run in the team over Ben Rama, but that's maybe a touch too far when we're looking away from nailed-on players. Even Southampton, when they get back, they've got a couple of, they can't defend for anything, but Brozier, the strikers are all injured. Maybe even James Ward-Prowse for a small period of time. But anyway, let's not spend too much time on that when I don't think it's too necessary to do so. But if you're chasing, don't be afraid to be a bit aggressive and try and get a couple of players in there playing this week. The ones that I've mentioned that might even do a very good job for you. Looking at captaincy this week, I do look potentially someone like Burnley. You could go for an Ollie Watkins. He seems to be on form against players like that, teams like that. Arsenal, I think you're maybe pushing your luck a little bit to try and get a captain from there. Vice captain, one of those guys, definitely. If you do want to go for a captaincy, Newcastle, Manchester City. Newcastle looked all right against Liverpool, but Liverpool obviously better side and won the game relatively comfortably in the end. You could look at someone like Foden. You could look at something, but there's always that risk of rotation with Man City that you've just got to take on the chin. Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, and then you've obviously got your nailed on options. And I think you'll see a lot of people captain Salah this week against Spurs. I'm pretty sure they haven't really considered. Might consider like 1 goal in the last 3 games. I was actually looking at the form table earlier. If you bear with me 1 second on that one, I'm just going to have a quick look at it now. But it could be, especially if you're chasing again in your mini league, this is a week to move away from Salah. If I'm chasing in the mini league this week, I'm almost certainly going for a Watkins or somebody like that. Maybe even a KDB or a Foden, and vice captaining Watkins, something along those lines. Because, at White Hart Lane, well, it's not White Hart Lane anymore, is it? It's the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Liverpool away from home. Chances of cancellations are high at this very moment in time. If I'm chasing, I might even do it myself. There you go. Scott's not here to call me out, so I can make really ridiculously bold claims. Spurs. I was looking at the last 2. In the last 2 games, they've not conceded a goal. Anyway, those are options that you can go for. So deadline 1:30 on Saturday, and then watch out for the Carabao Cup fixtures midweek. you've got Arsenal who are playing Sunderland. Then you've got Brentford and Chelsea, Liverpool and Leicester, and Spurs and West Ham. So look out for players that are missing from those lineups. Obviously pay very close attention to injuries, but also those are the teams that you'll expect to see a bit more rotation from. So that was Arsenal against Sunderland, Brentford, Chelsea, Liverpool, Leicester, and Spurs against West Ham. So pay close attention to those. I hope that was some information that you could take on board, and I hope that was worthwhile. I didn't want to do something too long. I wanted to see something you could easily digest in the 24 hours before the deadline. Any question or queries, send us a direct message. That's All in Football Pod or All in Football P on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. And then please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also subscribe to the podcast moving forward as well. And I'll try to put this video out on social if you get the opportunity to do so. So thanks very much for watching. I'm FPL Guru Alex Rex, and bye for now.